Exactly.
I may have to.
You're cold?
I was.
That's
Initial
why I
term
wrote,
is 1 year,
blazer
maybe
and a
extended
scarf.
in writing by the parties.
I think it would be like years, if it was years ahead, they'd have to. Oh, yeah.
You know anything here?
It's so weird that they don't list
The
it.
agreement may be canceled in writing on 30 days' notice.
It looks like it's I think it's a year.
Yeah.
And then if you don't initiate it, then it's a year from when you initiate.
Fred,
Okay.
I think that's
Thank
good.
you.
See the second half of that?
10 seconds.
Was it that?
Findings in process.
Yeah,
Not yet identified. It
but
could go
not,
as,
but not yet collected.
right,
Two nugget
but
and a
that
light
could
flavor.
go up to 30 months after the year. Yeah. So that's,
Can you please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you and good evening. Tonight is Tuesday, I almost said January. February 27th. We're not going back in time. It's a little after 7:30. We just came from executive session where we discussed construction litigation. The first resolution on the agenda tonight is resolution number 1, considering approving the use of village streets for the Portchester Teachers Association rally.
Whereas in an email dated February 16th, the Portchester Teachers Association requested to hold a rally raising awareness over teacher and school employee retention issues on March 6, 2024, from 3:15 to 5:30 p.m., starting and ending at the Portchester Middle School. And whereas the Portchester Teachers Association rally requires the Village Board of Trustees to provide approval of the streets. Now therefore be it resolved that subject to the final approval of the Police Department, the Portchester Teachers Association is authorized to use the Rye Brook streets for the rally, raising awareness over teacher and school employee retention issues on March 6, 2024, from 3:15 to 5:30 p.m., starting and ending at the Portchester Middle School, and be it further resolved that the village streets shall be used in compliance with the terms and conditions established by the Police Department.
Thank you, Chris. Can I have a motion and second, please?
Second.
I believe we have a representative from the school. Do you want to say anything? If you could please just introduce yourself and.
My name is Chris Kasem, Portchester Teachers Association President, and a public employee at Portchester School District for 17 years. I know I sent a statement to you guys, and I appreciate everyone's support for this because this is an important issue that is statewide. It's not a Portchester Rye Brook issue. It's something that I've found that is a long-term issue that impacts not only teachers and school districts, but police and all public servants.
Talking to the mic a little louder.
Oh, I'm sorry. This impacts police departments, it impacts fire, village workers, anyone who's in the tiered pension system in public service throughout New York State. I've gained support from Rye Brook, from Portchester Village Board I will be speaking with next week, the state level from NICET. I've asked local legislators from both the state and county to participate and join us. We have a shortage of teachers in New York State currently, and that's going to potentially get worse in the future. So I worry the future of education in our districts and statewide, that a teacher shortage and disparities within the tiered system and pension system that could impact retention and lead to more attrition down the road.
Thank you.
Just to be clear, so the route that they're looking for is to start at the middle school. We'll go up Ridge Street. We'll go up and around the high school, and then back again to towards the Portchester Middle School on the same route.
So we're looking to start at the middle school, and I know weather could be a potential issue. I was discussing with Chief Austin before, depending on whether the route actually might be shortened, but we're looking to go from the middle school up Bowman to about where it meets Westchester Avenue.
Okay.
And then back
Route
down
1,
Westchester
that's
Avenue.
Route 1, right, on the
Yeah.
map? Okay.
Route 2 would possibly just be Bowman up to Ridge
Mhm.
and back down Westchester.
Okay.
So this is on the sidewalks or this is on the street?
Sidewalks.
Are any of the other organizations that should be concerned about the same issues joining you?
Tomorrow I'm meeting with the executive board of Brook Teachers Association. So I'll be meeting with their exec board looking for support. We do have support from local teachers associations in White Plains. The goal was to have pop-up rallies in every district statewide simultaneously to really shed light on how important fixing Tier 6 is. It is a priority of NICET, New York State Teachers State Union, and this is one of their things that they're working with state legislators. It will be discussed at the Committee of 100 next week, and I'm hoping we've invited NICET's president to attend as well as local legislators.
And the timing is, I'm sorry?
Time,
3:15 to
3:15.
5:30.
So the opening would include a couple speeches from myself, Mayor of Portchester, Superintendent of Schools, Board of Ed members, maybe another president, a Tier 6 teacher that this does impact down the road. If Melinda Persons, president of NICET, attends as well, asking her to speak, or some NICET representative from the Tarrytown Regional Office.
Well, my big question was answered about the sidewalks. I'm assuming, Greg, you're aware of this and. Oh, okay.
Because I think you're talking about,
To get
it could
everybody
be
on the
upwards
street,
of
on
400
the,
people, right?
sidewalk.
Yeah, that's what they're.
Yeah.
Street crossings, right? Crossing, yeah.
So would you stop traffic,
We would stop traffic.
just for them to cross, or is it continuous walk? How would you do it?
We would stop traffic.
Here, yeah, why don't you come up, Chief?
Yeah,
Thank
and I think
you.
they're estimating, so it could be upwards of 400 people is what they're anticipating.
Right, so that's what I'm saying, because
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah,
when
the question is
even,
whether it's
even
staying the
the school
sidewalk.
children, the lights go through their change, and they stop traffic, and then the cars are backed up on Ridge Street for,
Right.
forever. And this is a long time, so tell us how you would implement this.
We would stop traffic as they're going across Ridge Street from Bowman.
Right.
So, and then once the group is on Ridge Street, then we would open up Bowman for cars to either make a right onto Ridge Street going south or up Bowman Avenue, but we wouldn't let cars go north on Ridge Street until they got to Westchester Avenue. And then once they're going down Westchester Avenue, then we would open up Ridge Street.
If it's going that way, if
So that's blocking for about 10 minutes is what I'm,
Yeah, I would think so.
Time permitting, we could
I don't think that's a good
have a
idea.
shorter route that would not even impact Westchester as much. It would just be Bowman to Ridge, back down Westchester. That would be less impact.
And I gave Chris Rybridge contact information so he can let them know, because that's going to
Okay.
impact them. But I don't see this having a major impact, any different than the kids walking home.
Well, the
Okay.
kids, they stop the traffic and they let them cross, and then they hold them up until the next light. Here, you're going to hold everybody up until they're finished, which could be hundreds of people.
Well, the kids don't walk on the sidewalks. The adults don't walk on the sidewalks. So I think that will be, I think we'll be dealing with more,
Responsible people.
an easier group to herd.
yes, more responsible pedestrians. So we will be stopping traffic. I'm sure that it's not going to be, there will be people who are not going to be happy about it, but we're going to do our best to minimize it and get them across and keep the traffic flowing as best we can.
Why can't you follow the light pattern? Let people go and do it the way the crossing guards do.
We could do that too.
It would, but then you have
We'll
the
just
group
make it longer.
broken up.
But
And
but
to
then
me-
you're
yeah, but-
keeping the flow going, which I
Yeah,
see.
but to me, that becomes a longer.
Have you ever been on
problem.
Ridge Street waiting for that?
Oh, yeah.
It's a horror.
It's not that horrible.
You know what? You're there for like 10 minutes, I feel like, and then it kind of moves.
Yeah, that's right.
Kids are like herding cats.
Yes.
Greg, you go use your judgment. Obviously,
And
if
I
you gotta
think-
stop, if it's getting there's too much traffic, you stop half the group. Traffic goes, right?
Right, I'm all for, I
Yeah,
understand
we
it
just-
completely, but I have been stuck on, all the way back on Ridge Street, waiting
all.
for that crossing guard to move the kids forward, and it is very frustrating
Right. I agree. It is frustrating, but it's.
and unnecessary.
I also feel like I put a lot of faith in Chief Austin and his
Right, so
ability
I
to.
think keeping it flowing, because if you're backing up all the way, I don't think that that's helpful either.
No, and we'll instruct the officers that if we see the traffic's getting backed up too much, and there's a lot of
Yeah.
people coming, that we
Yeah,
would
you'll take care.
just stop the people. And let
Right, it's
the
only for
traffic
2
flow.
minutes, and then they can catch up.
And
They're
we're-
adults, they can walk
Yeah.
a little faster.
Yeah, but, as long as we're on the sidewalks, I think that it'll be easier to do traffic flow.
Right.
Safety.
I'll send notifications to it.
If you don't mind, just, thank you.
I'm sending a letter to the editor of Westmore News tomorrow so that the community is aware this weekend when it goes to print that this event is happening. That
Oh,
day and
okay.
time. And just full transparency, every time I've talked about this event, I want nothing negative. I don't want to impact people. This is supposed to be something bringing the community together, not aggravating anyone. So I don't want to do anything that does lead to any,
Right.
so I
I know
appreciate.
personally I tend to avoid the area around 3 o'clock
Same.
anyway.
But I'm sure the police will use their judgment. They've been used to this.
Yeah, it's nothing new. And it's 4 police officers, so it's not like they're gonna be.
Right.
Right.
It's not like they're going to be starting fights.
Right. No, I'm not trying to stop it, and I'm all for it. I just, the flow of
I know how
traffic.
Rye Ridge is, yes, at
It's-
3 o'clock, even coming from the high school to the middle school sometimes.
Exactly, so.
Yep. Nope.
And when people
I know
can't
it.
get their kids to their after-school activities, it is a seeping sense of frustration, that's all I'm saying.
And I worry about the weather because that can
Oh, yeah.
So how
change a
about
lot.
I know.
safety?
You can't go anywhere. I know. All right.
Good luck.
Any other questions, comments,
No. I
concerns?
think we ironed that out.
Thank you very much.
Trustee Austin?
Yes.
Trustee Fisher?
Yes.
Trustee Heiser?
Yes.
Trustee Young? Yes. Mayor Klein?
Yes, thank you. Good luck with that. And Chief, I know you'll work well with them. Thank you, we appreciate it. Resolution number 2, considering an agreement between the Village of Rybrook and U-Audit Associates for utility audit services.
Whereas the Village of Rybrook Treasurer wishes for the village to have an audit conducted of the village's utility expenses, and whereas U-Audit conducts standard audits for the New York municipalities through the NICOM USA program, and whereas Rybrook seeks to enter into a proposed agreement with U-Audit Services for standard auditing services of the village's utility expenses, and whereas under the terms of the proposed agreement, U-Audit Services would conduct a standard audit of the utility expenses at no upfront cost to the village, with payments based on refunded money recovered during the audit at 40% for each type cost each cost type stipulated in the proposed agreement. And whereas Rybrook Board of Trustees hereby approves the agreement with Rybrook and U-Audit at no upfront cost to the village, with payments based on refunded money recovered during the audit, and for each cost type stipulated in the proposed agreement, subject to modification by council, and be it further resolved, the mayor and administrator are hereby authorized to sign and execute any and all necessary documents to accomplish the purposes of this resolution.
Thank you, Chris. Can I have a motion second, please?
Second.
Now, Chris, we've done this before. We've done this in the past.
Yeah, we've
It's
done it
been a
before,
while.
and it's been a number of years. We did it with, again, a former NICOM group. They literally just take the bills, they look through and make sure everything was charged appropriately backwards and forwards. And if they find savings, last time we got a very significant savings, and this was probably 10 years ago.
Right.
So we figured it was time to do it again. And anything they get is a positive, because it's they're going to check through even the cable franchise payments and everything, not look at the payments themselves necessarily, but have all the right taxes been paid, have all the utility rates that are in the agreements. They'll look at the agreements and make sure there's nothing that was, the definitions were applied appropriately and things like that. And so it's money that if we get it, that's great. It's money that we currently would not be receiving.
Great.
I have a question. Has any other municipality that we know used this?
Yeah, this
Firm?
is a NICOM partner. That's why we used them.
Okay.
That's what we did last time too.
And they've had success?
Yeah, tons. And we've done it with a different NICOM partner in the past, and actually we used them even going forward for. We had a relationship where we used them for like cable franchise negotiations, where they helped us really define definitions to make sure we were maximizing the way we were getting everything we could from the cable company, as an example.
And we're not currently having anything looked at now?
No, there's nobody looking at that deep into it.
Okay.
We get the payments. It tells you how many users,
Wait,
subscribers.
it costs us nothing.
costs us
I
nothing.
understand.
Yeah.
And it's only, I read just briefly here, that it's only a
1 year.
percentage of the first year.
Yeah.
And it could be an ongoing savings.
Yep. Oh, yeah, then we get the savings going forward when it's applied
Exactly.
appropriately.
Right, so it's great.
If I remember correctly, one of the last times we did this was after we started switching over a lot of the lights to LEDs.
Yeah, we did some of that.
Yeah,
We got a lot of
you get
money
savings,
back
you
last
know,
time on
they try.
utility.
Yeah.
And this is stuff we would have it's not our comfort area, knowing all the
Right.
definitions
No.
of cable, what we're able to recover versus what the franchise agreements. It gets very technical. And so they were able to, we got money back, I think, on both cable franchises last time.
Great.
Great. Great.
Any other questions, comments?
Nope.
Trustee Epstein?
Yes.
Trustee Fisher?
Yes.
Trustee Heiser?
Yes.
Trustee Morlino? Yes. Mayor Klein?
Yes, thank you. Resolution number 3, considering granting an extension of a PUD site plan approval to 900 King Street LLC. And are we reading this?
Ralph's drafting some language for us to read.
Okay.
So I'll read the beginning parts and then we'll modify it.
Okay, great, thank you.
Whereas on January 26, 2021, the Board of Trustees approved a local law amending the village code, and whereas the local law revised the zoning code pursuant to a planned unit development sites and created a new section of code to allow for the development of 900 King Street, owned by 900 King Street Associates, for age-restricted and senior housing purposes. And whereas in September 2021, the Board of Trustees approved a PUD concept plan proposed by 900 King Street Associates. And whereas under the village site plan, PUD site plan approval makes it valid for 18 months with extensions authorized to be granted of periods not to exceed 6 months. And whereas the original PUD approved by the Village of Rybrook Board of Trustees expired on March 15th, 2023. And whereas on January 24th, 2023, the Board of Trustees approved an extension for 6 months expiring on September 15th, 2023. And whereas on February 19th, 2024, the Village of Rybrook received a letter from Veneziano and Associates on behalf of 900 King requesting an additional extension for a period of 6 months. Now therefore be it resolved that the Village of Rybrook Board of Trustees hereby approves the site plan extension. Now, Ralph?
For a period of 3 months and upon the filing of a properly completed application by 900 King Street Associates to the Westchester County IDA within such 3 months extension period, there shall be a further PUD site approval extension for an additional period of 3 months.
Thank you. Can I have a motion second, please?
Second.
All right, so, I think
It is kind of.
I think I speak for the board when I say that, we feel that this is still a positive project for the Village of Rybrook. It's unfortunate that this has taken this long. I know we were going through the EIS process for a long time, and then everything changed. And, actually that was during the EIS process. And so we've been in pilot negotiations with this development, and obviously at this point we'd like to see movement on this project, with especially applications going to the IDA, which helps moves along the pilot process, which gets us closer to construction on this project, which I think is why there was discussion amongst this board of, instead of just straight out granting the 6 months, putting in some condition there about moving the IDA paperwork forward within that 3-month period, which we hope will be happening, and submitting that application, which then brings it into that 6 months extension. Do I think I said that properly?
Well, he's going to read. You're going to draft it, Chris?
It was
Ralph
just
just
read.
read it.
Okay.
3 months. If they file with the IDA, it can go to 6 months.
Okay.
That's the short story.
That's the short. That's what I want to hear.
Complete filing.
Complete application.
Yes,
Complete
completed
application
application
and
submitted to the
filing.
IDA.
Yes.
When you retype this, could you capitalize B in Brook on the second whereas?
Yes.
Picky, picky, picky.
You would be. I missed that one. Any question? There it is. Yeah, I see it.
One quick question. When you file with the IDA, does that get spit back and forth several times, or is that pretty basic application?
Whenever I've received them, I'm not sure if the attorneys go back and forth with the IDA. That's possible, but by the time it hits us, it's not with the village.
Okay.
Yeah, that's an independent organization.
Okay.
It's
Very
a
good.
Westchester County organization.
Yes.
Westchester County
Okay.
IDA.
All right.
I would love the phrase as soon as practicable. I don't, that's really,
Oh, I'm sorry, what was that?
forget it.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments?
No.
Trustee Epstein?
Yes.
Trustee Fisher?
Yes.
Trustee Heiser?
Yes.
Trustee Morlino? Yes. Mayor Klein?
Yes, thank you. Resolution number 4, considering a proposal from the Housing Action Council to assist tenants in properties enrolled in the NRCS Recovery Program.
Whereas the Village of Rybrook anticipated up to 22 properties to be enrolled in the National Resource Recovery Program, or the NRCS program, and whereas several properties partaking in the program are occupied by tenants, and whereas the Uniform Relocation Assistance and Real Property Acquisition Act of 1970, hereinafter called the URA, of the Village of Rybrook is required to assist eligible tenants impacted by the program. And whereas Rose Noonan, the Executive Director of the Housing Action Council, has provided the village with a proposal to provide relocation assistance to eligible tenants residing on properties enrolled in the program and enrolled in the URA at a fee of $5,500 per eligible household. And whereas the Village of Rybrook seeks to accept the proposal from the Housing Action Council, now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby approves the proposal from the Housing Action Council at a fee of $5,500 per household to assist the Village of Rybrook to maintain compliance with the URA. Be it further resolved that the mayor and administrator are authorized to sign and execute any necessary documents to accomplish the purposes of this resolution.
Thank you, Chris. Can I have a motion second, please?
So moved. Second.
I think this is, and Chris, you'll explain it better, but this is another step being taken
Yep.
to assist the homeowners with this choice that they're facing. And what we're trying to do is help people who have been severely affected by flooding within the Village of Rybrook.
So, and this is a program that's specific to those properties that have tenants on the site. And so this is a very heavily regulated area where under the agreement with the NRCS, we need to comply with this particular act, so we don't have a choice, and it's very complicated. So you have to we're hiring the Housing Action Council, who works with the village on other affordable housing projects, work throughout the county. They've done this in other communities as well. So what they have to coordinate is things like eligible moving expenses or rent utility increases up to a certain dollar value that's required under the program, the utility disconnect and reconnects, and possibly also help with subsidies of rent if they're high, if you can't find comparable rents. So they assist with all that relocation. It's a required thing that we have to do. And at the end of that, we want to help the tenants, and that's the most important. But the other thing that's really nice about it is it's all reimbursable through the NRCS program, including
It's also a very big
including the fee to the Housing Action Council. Everything is reimbursable to the village.
Right. And, again, this is, just more aid to those who are facing this tough choice.
Yep, and the tenants that are in those homes.
Yeah,
'Cause this is
absolutely.
right now, I think out of the 9 or 10, maybe 3 or 4 tenants, homes
Okay.
with tenants, just to give you a little perspective.
Okay. Any questions or comments?
Do we still help them if they're moving out of state?
Yeah, I believe so. It's for relocation and where they can find comparable housing. I think this is a federal program, isn't it?
Yes.
So it's a federal
Federal,
program.
okay, so, and the other program that's also helping them, is that redundant? Or
No, that's
is
a
that-
completely different program. So this is the only program that is wholly for the tenants, for tenants of homeowners. If tenants or
So
renters.
are there many renters?
I just said out of the 9 or 10, I think there's either 3 or 4 homes so
Great.
far
Sorry about
that
that.
have enrolled.
Sorry.
So yeah, it's only for renters.
Got it,
They're being displaced, so they need. They're required to get assistance under this act.
got it. Thank you so much.
Any other questions, comments?
Trustee Epstein?
Yes.
Trustee Fisher?
Yes.
Trustee Heiser?
Yes.
Trustee Morlino? Yes. And Mayor Klein?
Yes, thank you. Resolution number 5, considering an agreement between the Village of Rybrook and Westchester County for curbside textile collection.
Whereas the Westchester County has, on behalf of Refuse Disposal District 1, expanded Westchester's textile recycling program to include curbside textile collection in collaboration with Helpsy, a public benefit recycling corporation in White Plains, New York. And whereas the curbside textile pickup service enables residents in participating municipalities to schedule free curbside pickup on designated service days assigned to the municipality and arranged to not conflict with sanitation curbside collection. And whereas on the textile curbside pickup appointment scheduled by the resident, a Helpsy provider that's redundant, but will visit the residents to retrieve the bagged textiles for processing at their facility for refuse or recycling. And whereas the Village of Rybrook seeks to enter into proposed agreement with Westchester County for curbside textile collection under the newly expanded Westchester Textile Recycling Program. And whereas there'll be no cost associated with the proposed agreement, and whereas under the terms of the agreement, Rybrook agrees to stipulations laid forth in the agreement, and be it further resolved, the Board of Trustees hereby approves the proposed agreement with Westchester County for curbside textile collection under the newly expanded recycling program in collaboration with Helpsy, and be it further resolved that the mayor and administrator are authorized to sign and execute any and all documents necessary to accomplish the purposes of the resolution.
Thank you, Chris. Can I have a motion second, please?
So moved.
The only question I have with this one is whether in any way it's in conflict with the agreement we have with Binny.
I don't think so, because it's a separate program.
Right,
And it's
okay.
curbside, it's scheduled. I think they're going to schedule it through the app, right, that they're creating. You can schedule it through the app, or there's probably a phone number, and residents will schedule a day and a time, I guess, that it would be picked up.
All right,
Just-
well.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead, no.
It's a for-profit company that is only going to give you $1,500 total, no matter how much you.
It's a convenience
do.
for residents to get it picked up
Yeah.
at their home.
But there's so many opportunities to give clothing to nonprofits and people that need it in this area. I think that I am not. This is. They're making money off of people's donations.
And so
It's
the
the
thing,
same thing that
people
Binny-
in the
like
area
Binny-
that
It's the same
need
thing.
clothing.
And I think
the
you
clothing
know,
drops
as
are all
a-
making money too.
You know, in my
Like
household,
Salvation Army, they make money, but then they put it back into helping others.
Goodwill.
And when I bring
Goodwill
it
sells
to,
them.
what's the other
St.
organization?
Paul's has a
Yeah.
thing for clothing.
and I think
Of
people
course,
will
but
still
they also-
continue to
they're
do that.
helping their,
that's what- yeah.
but they're saying they may,
profit.
if I just,
No,
I
but I
looked
think
them up.
I think people will still continue to do that. I know in my household,
I think this-
the only things we bring to Binny are things that we wouldn't donate anywhere because it's just not usable. You know, we're not going to give it. But anything that's usable, you know, we're either going to one of those organizations that you named, or a free cycle type place, or you know, there's a lot of these places.
Sharing shelf,
Yeah.
right.
There's a lot of really good organizations that do,
Yes.
yeah. There's
I don't think it'll
veterans
really take
organizations, but there's also Goodwill who sells it again. But
20,000 tons.
the only thing is,
Habits.
you try to create options for residents, and it would be recycled. At least it would be reused somewhere. It's for those that would throw it out if they didn't go somewhere.
I think
It might be convenient.
So, listen, if we go ahead, we send a notice out that lets residents know this is a program. Could it be also advertised that this is for a profit program, this is for profit,
I don't see why not.
and that if you do not, this is just an option to help you get rid of your clothes instead of bringing them to like a clothing bin where they
Could
go
we,
to homeless people or whatever, you know.
could we let them know about the bins on our parking lot at St. Paul's?
Yeah,
Sharing
right.
Shelf, all
Something
these
to
other
just give,
alternatives.
just another option. You're right. It's nice. Some people just don't have the strength, or they don't want to go, and they just want to
I see
instead
this
of going
as
to
a-
the garbage.
Right, I see it as a lazy option.
What's a lazy option? But you think people are going to say?
Right, I think they're
Well,
gonna say, oh, I don't have to go to the
listen, I'm
sharing
one to
shelf,
say
I'm
I
just
threw
gonna put it in
I threw clothes away on curbside
Right, but a lot
pickup
of
many times. I also went to both. I did both. Sometimes I got lazy and said forget it.
But I think a lot of people there are other options as well. We recently did one for the vets, you know, where they do pick up.
Yes.
So
They-
you know,
they do
I think
furniture
people
also.
know of these options.
Well, just
I think
as
this is
long as
just
they're
adding
aware that
another
it's
option,
for
and it's-
profit, I think I
It
can't
can't
see
hurt to
why.
remind
So how often are we gonna have a bin out? Because that's the other thing, in inclement weather where it's windy or whatever.
No, there's no
my-
bin.
There's no bin. This is people schedule it on their own.
Pick it up at their homes.
They come and pick it up, just
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
the veterans, et cetera.
Yeah.
They come and pick it up at your home.
All right, as long as it's
So it's
not.
just another option then.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah,
another.
just
And
another
as long as the residents know what it's for, and what the,
So
where the
what-
money's going, or where the clothing's going, I think it's,
So this is acting as an endorsement, though, really?
yeah.
But
That's
the county's already done that countywide
county's
by
already
doing
done
the
that,
agreement.
yeah.
I don't understand
That's
that.
interesting.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
And they're
This
capping it.
this is just allowing it in Rybrook.
I'm just not crazy about the name.
I know.
Helps
See?
see.
Well, if you look it up, I mean, it discusses ThreadUp, it discusses all those other organizations that take clothes and they use it for their best purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And it includes monetizing
Sure.
it for their own use. Where-
Absolutely. A lot of the bins do the same. Yeah, they
Yeah,
keep
the
I
it.
bins are
know.
the same thing.
So what is do we have any idea, I know it's been some time since we voted on this, the bin that we have there, we were capped also for certain amounts of tonnage for the amount. Here, you realize that $1,500 is the cap.
We can find out. I'm happy to share whatever I don't remember how much we received there, but we can ask.
Okay.
I can
I'd
go
like
look
to
at our
know.
file. I
Thank
can
you so
check
much.
with Treasury tomorrow.
How is this going to be publicized so that anybody knows about it?
Well, the one thing that hasn't come out yet is the county's been preparing a countywide app for garbage and recycling. So people, what's it called again? What's the app? So we've been entering, all the municipalities are entering in their information on the app. And basically you download the app and you'll be able to look up on the app. You can go, you put in the municipality, you pick up your collection days, and it'll help guide you on what's recyclable, what's not recyclable. It'll tell you holidays, stuff like that. They haven't, it's not ready to be out there. But the other thing they're going to let you do in the app is schedule an appointment through this program. Recycle Coach, that's what it's called.
Recycle code.
So these other programs, other companies, organizations that have these clothing pickups, we don't have to approve, we're not approving any of that stuff,
No.
right? So what's, I mean, why,
That
right?
one's fine.
Yeah.
There's somebody
just
that
an
would like
option.
to say something. Jason?
I'm just listening to this.
Yeah.
I'm not here for this. I'm just learning about it as you guys talk.
If you don't mind. So rare we have public comment on things that I'm like, yeah, we'll welcome this.
But
Please
why
state
don't
your
you
name
guys
and
just-
address.
Oh, Joe Larongo, 126 North Ridge Street.
Thank you.
Why don't you guys just put on the Rybrook residence page like I did today? I said, hi, chair, for free. I put it on Portchester, give and take. Within 5 minutes,
We do that for a lot
I
of stuff.
had, I don't know, 6 people, and I already got rid of it within 2 hours. My daughter, as she goes through the year, she's now almost 5. Every season, we put 2 or 3 trash bags together, put it on Portchester, give and take. Within 20 minutes, the clothes are gone from my house. So if you are worried about people making money off of this, just go to Rybrook Residence or Portchester and say, hey, here's a great way to recycle your clothes. Just say, give it away for free, and that's that. And this company can go,
It's just an option, yeah.
you just have to inform people that,
There's options.
and if they don't want a stranger coming to their house, then, I don't know, drop it off at the curb right here, assign a time, and just pick it up or something like that.
Well, we have a bin in our parking lot. And
Yeah, but
Yeah.
nobody can, a person can't reach into that bin and grab it out. I'm saying, say you needed baby clothes. I would physically meet you and give you, a season's worth of baby's clothes and say, here you go. Here's $1,000 worth of clothes for free because my daughter used it already, and I don't need it. But
Right.
And I think you're right. Absolutely, a lot of residents do that. We did spring
you did
cleaning
that.
in January, and you saw.
I only know, my friend actually got your,
Oh, the train table.
the train table.
Oh, your friend. Okay,
It's
yeah.
for her
So maybe
grandchildren.
we'll put it on hold and
Phenomenal. Yeah, we know we cleaned the house recently
the meeting.
and did exactly that where we gave a lot of it away. So, and I think that's where a lot of people will continue to do this. I think it's really, this is something the county's offering, and so we're saying we'll offer it as well since it's.
people, if they want to make money from something, they're going to do it. If they're not, they're going to be like myself and just give it away.
Right.
Right. There's so much need also.
Yeah.
So that's why I feel that
We
way.
can have to make a decision tonight, right?
There are also a tremendous number of organizations out there that will pick stuff up. I'm
Yeah.
arranging to have all my old DVDs picked up tomorrow, like breast cancer awareness. Because nobody wants DVDs, but they will take them.
I want to know what some of these are. I don't want to.
Really?
Baseball documentaries.
You laugh. But actually, it's mostly movies. But yeah, I'm giving them 12 cartons
Okay.
of DVDs.
Wow. Okay.
All right. So we're good. Move on. Vote.
But
Okay.
at all of the
All right.
old age homes, or like Atria,
They don't want DVDs.
they don't want DVDs.
No, they don't want to. Nah.
I can't believe it.
There's so much stuff you can't get rid of these days. So it's,
Really? All right. Well, I'm all for nonprofits getting it.
yeah. And I think you're right. When we send out notice, we can send out notice about other,
Yeah.
you know, that there still remain the normal channels, and people are still going to do it anyway because that's what.
Yeah,
they've
if
been
that,
doing.
if this is gonna be approved tonight, then I think the notice should be very,
Yeah, and it's not
with
happening.
everything available.
And it's not happening yet anyhow. We're
Yeah.
gonna be waiting for other things to
Yeah.
catch up. They're just kind of setting it up.
In other words, they're
Yep.
making money.
All right.
They're using it for a purpose.
I understand.
Okay.
Trustee Epstein,
Yes.
Trustee Fisher,
Yes.
Trustee Heiser, Trustee Morlino,
Yes.
and Mayor Klein.
Yes, thank you. Resolution number 6, considering approving the minutes of the village board meeting held on October 10th, 2023.
So move. Second.
We
Wait,
need
I
it. We
need
need
the
to have it
resolution.
read. Give Chris a
Now
minute.
therefore be resolved that the Board of Trustees
I love your enthusiasm.
hereby approves
though.
the minutes for the meeting held on October 10th, 2023.
There was a pause.
Now, could I have a motion and second, please?
So move. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
It passed. All opposed? Okay.
Such a fun group.
All right, administrators report.
Just a couple of updates. So the NRCS program, we currently have, it's been extended to, the deadline has been extended to either accept the program or withdraw, accept the appraisals or withdraw up to March 16th. So we decided, which is the latest date everybody had anyhow. So this way, some people have a little bit more time. So it also gets everybody on the same time frame and the same schedule. So March 16th is the deadline on that, and we have 9 so far, although I think we're going to have 10 by the end of the night. Village elections are March 19th, and they'd be from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. It's for 2 trustee positions, and both Susan Epstein and David Heiser, both on the board now, are the 2 people that have submitted the submitted the petitions to the county Board of Elections. So everyone, please come out. It is important to vote. Third item is Millennium's done really well. I don't know if everybody's been seeing that our grant writer has been getting. We have, I think, 250 as of January, 250,000 in grants with no contributions, which is great. And 4 or 5 other grants. They're starting to really roll in. I think we've gotten 2 more acceptances.
Is it on here?
Huh?
Is
It's
it
in our monthlies. And then I think we got 2 more accepted already this month. So we have even more rolling in. It's really starting to pick up now, which is great. Yeah.
I'm very happy.
And
Thank
and
you.
really good programs. Like some of the ones we have are things like what we wanted to do to revisit like Richmond Manor Park flooding issues and stuff like that, which we've done all the projects from that old study. We've worked our way through from north to south. Now we're able to go back and look 10 years later and say, is there anything else we could look at? Things like that.
Those neighbors have a lot to
Yeah.
say.
So that's great. So it's another opportunity for things like that. Let's see. Also, the next meeting, we're going to have Ramble Engineering, which is they've been looking at the Brook Lane and other streets there to see if there's ways. We said we're going to take a third look at it, and they have come up with some different solutions to help reduce flooding. I'll never say eliminate flooding on that, but they have some interesting ideas and different cost options where that we can perhaps are going to have an overview of a presentation of some ideas that they have to try to reduce some of the flooding in Brook Lane area to some extent. Again, it's never going to reduce it, but it's never going to eliminate it. But anything we could do to help reduce would be a positive. So once we have those projects identified and probably analyzed a little bit more, we can then go after grants to try to fund some of those projects. So we'll have them come and give an overview at the next meeting, and we let the residents know that too.
Chris?
Yeah.
Concerning the Westmore News article about the NRCS program, one of the things that was not in the article, which I think is really important and it affects the desirability of the offer, is that they don't have to pay a brokerage fee.
Oh, yeah. No, absolutely.
3%, so when they say they can get an extra X number of dollars if they sell it on their own, but they're gonna pay 3% right off the top.
Yep. Yeah, and we've made the points in our last Zoom meeting too,
Yes.
and,
No, I
and
know
we
that,
said
but it
those.
wasn't
Yeah,
in the
there's
Westmore
another
News.
there's another 3% there plus
The
the up
3%.
to 3% from the Nature Conservancy. So those are two other avenues for additional funds to
So
to stay.
even if you use the 625 number, that's really 6% higher,
Yeah.
which brings it a lot closer to their alleged 675 that they can get.
That's right. Absolutely. So great. So we're just preparing. We're going through the next process to look at the properties. So by March 16th, we'll know what can be done. Depending on how many in a row, we may look at different designs and engineering there. But our goal is to have these closings all in 2024. Some much earlier in the year, and some throughout the year. The others throughout the year. That's all I have for tonight.
Okay. Before we move on to the discussion item, I'm going to open up this meeting to public comment. And I guess we'll go in order that, okay. I was going to go in order that it's on the paper here. So, so please just, again, state your name and.
26 on Ridge Street. So I came here like a month or two ago talking about speeding. I just want to know if any progress has been made. I know police officers are sitting in my driveway because I see them. I saw them there this morning. And people are zooming by and they get them, but I don't know if they get them enough and they're not slowing down. What I've seen recently is when we had snow days, kids were crossing the street on North Ridge into Crawford Park. People were zooming by and these kids are standing there with their sleds. I actually stopped and somebody almost hit me because I stopped for a pedestrian. I just constantly see people speeding, and I don't know if you said you were going to try to get a study done. I don't know if there's any progress on that, if there's any progress on signage, if there's, yield to pedestrian signs, children at play signs, anything like that. The summer is getting closer, so I know my 5-year-old already is asking to go to Crawford Park, and we cross the street from my driveway, walk on the sidewalk, and then cross the street back. Because we don't really want to walk on the grass and everything. And people just don't, I get frustrated. I would love to throw something into the middle of the street, and I know that's bad, but, but I feel like that might actually open eyes if somebody, gets into an accident or, he got hit by a car on Lincoln Avenue. Are we waiting, does the town want to wait for somebody to die?
It will open lawyers' eyes for sure.
My wife's a lawyer.
Okay.
She lives. We got a security camera, so she'll see everything. But what are we doing? I came here 2 months ago. Has any progress been made? If not, then I'm
Sure. Yeah. I mean,
to a wall here.
the chief chief's been looking at the enforcement issue, right, Greg? They've been trying to put more attention there. And in terms of the engineering group, which is Hardesty in Hanover, which is a planning and engineering firm, we have an existing proposal from them. It's just more costly than I would think it should be, so we're just negotiating the price on that. But we're looking at alternative, because you have a rise in the street that drops pretty quickly. You can't put a crosswalk. There's no crossing there with traffic control. Usually you would want to put a crossing. It's much better when there's a traffic control device or a stop or something that's more visible that will stop traffic. When you don't, and you have it in the middle of a road without that stoppage, then particularly there, it's hard to describe sitting here at the dais, but coming from north to south, there's a rise that you can't see the cars very easily. So the warning, we have to really plan out the distance on the warning for the crossing before the rise gets down. So in other words, you can't cross. Well, you're not supposed to be walking across there because there's no fixed crosswalk. That's what we're trying to do. So some of the options we're looking at there, and there's things like road diets and things that they call that will basically narrow the street in a particular area, but you need a lot of warnings to lead up to that. It's not as easy as throwing down a crosswalk and a children at play sign.
Well, the park was there before houses were there.
Why put a park there? Like, people in this neighborhood walk. So you're saying everyone that goes to Crawford Park needs to drive there?
That's the way it is now. It's not intended to cross. No, it's the way it's in the traffic. I know a lot of people walk there.
Yeah.
That's why we're trying to find, is there a solution that will be safe for people to cross? What we don't want to do is put a crosswalk in that's unsafe.
I
And you're-
think also you should understand, it's not our park.
Yeah.
All right, then who do we talk to?
Well,
Well, it's not-
the street,
it's-
Ridge Street
the
is
street
ours.
is ours.
The park is
It's our
is the
park.
town's.
It's complicated.
It's a
And you also can't
yeah.
cross. It gets a little bit more. I'm kind of getting into more of the weeds, but you also can't cross to a crosswalk the way it is with the. You need to have a landing area. There's ADA issues, and you have to be able to. Where there's currently a wall, would have to be pulled back. So it has to be designed both to meet the code
Right.
and to done safely. Those are the two issues.
So right now, the way it is, it's unsafe. So possibly doing something about it might make it more unsafe, even though most likely not. It would probably make it more safe.
It
So
would expose the
sounds like-
village. It would
sounds
expose
like
the
way
village and the
book is-
taxpayers to a lot of liability.
It sounds like
Yes.
the way the book is written is somebody like really needs to die by getting hit,
That's not fair.
and then somebody opens.
No,
their
that's not
eyes.
fair. What you do is you have to design something that's safe,
Right.
a safe way to cross that meets the code, which is doable.
Which is why we need to work with
It's not our code.
consultants.
It's not our code.
Who can I go talk to? Like
The
that
federal
actually gets somebody.
The federal
gets
government,
something
right?
done?
It's the MUTCD.
PCD is a federal requirement.
Yeah.
And traffic control devices must be engineered and designed. And that's what we are doing right now. That's going to take some time to do, but we are exploring.
The MUTCD is the Manual of Uniform Traffic Control Devices, which
Yeah,
which
because time
which
passes
divides
and-
crossings.
And 5-year-olds are going to be possibly running out into the street.
You don't. It's not
Like,
designed for
thank
people to
God
cross there.
Nobody's gotten hit yet, but that's the problem. It's always
It's not designed for people to walk across the street there, even though people do,
So
which
where
is
are we
why you
supposed
have
to
to come up
cross?
with you're supposed to drive across right now. That's not reasonable, and people are not doing it. That's why we're trying to come up with an alternative. That's existed for decades, so it just takes a little bit of time to design it
No, but
properly.
I don't know. I just
Just to
feel like
respond to something you said, why put a park there? The park antedates the houses.
yeah.
So in other
So-
words, why put houses?
Why
there?
put houses there, right?
But now there are houses there, so you need to update what the park is doing. So
If you just
when
slap
the
a
houses were built, crosswalks should have been built because if
if
you
you
live
s-
across the street,
if you put a crosswalk there,
you drive across the street.
if you put a crosswalk there with the rise in the street, the way the engineers looked at it, that would be we're telling people to cross here. And while people do have New York State have to stop at crosswalks, if they don't see the crosswalk, it's unsafe to cross. So that's why you have to give advance notice. You got to slow down the traffic, and you got to let people know there's something up ahead.
I don't know if you guys have seen. There's something in Europe that people are using, and maybe your wife posted it. It's a photo, a three-dimensional photo that is on the ground that looks like a kid crossing the street, and it's literally painted on the ground. And as you come up to it, because the way it's drawn, it looks like it's upright, but it's not. It's
Right.
down.
I never saw that
Yeah,
one.
cause of heart
Look it
attack.
up. It's in use in Europe.
Interesting.
Called. What is it called?
I honestly don't know. I just saw a picture of it, and somebody wrote, "This is what they do in Europe to slow people down." And it's like, it looks like a three-dimensional figure on the ground, and it's like a child playing basketball. And it's really weird.
It's
I
weird,
can send
yeah.
you the picture.
Yeah, I'm curious.
Please
Curious.
do.
But basically, what you have to do is you have to do a lot of lead in. So you have to lead in on the traffic coming down that they know there's a crosswalk there. And there's different ways to design that. You could narrow it down. You could do signage. You could do blinking lights. You could do a lot of different things. There's ways to illuminate it at night because then you have night issues. So there's things you need to do to let people know there's a crosswalk coming up. You need to slow down. And that's what you have to design because of the drop in the roadway. They won't see it coming.
Okay. And then signage with no crosswalk, like yield to pedestrians. Like if you see a pedestrian, like you slow down.
You shouldn't be yielding to somewhere where people shouldn't be crossing right now.
You can't put the sign up unless it's
Follow
all
very
planned out.
strict
And children at play
laws.
signs, I'd never recommend. They've been proven over and over again not to work. The people makes people feel good, but there's a billion studies out there that say children at play is not a very good sign and really doesn't work. It gives almost a false sense.
Okay. All right. I don't know. And we're basically.
And we're continuing.
No, we're not.
to look-
We're getting an engineer to do the
look
work.
into it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we may have an engineer looking further into it.
Yeah,
Design
we're
it.
just working on the cost of it right now.
Okay. Sir.
You have to talk into the mic, please.
15 years. I have addressed some issues with Chris. He's been very responsive for the issues. But some of the things just aren't getting done, and I'm just curious as to when you think that things can get finished. I know there's been a lot of work on Lincoln Avenue. It's been a mess. And now with all the rain and the mud, and they took the cones away from in front of Talcott, they dredged the lake there.
The basin, yep.
They have a huge, I guess,
Left mess.
sludge container thing. They've done this before, but
Yeah.
I was just wondering, I've pulled permits for everything. Does that require a permit?
Yeah, actually, Michael, do you mind just kind of give a summary of what they're doing there, so this way people have a better understanding? But yeah, there's a mess right there. We wholly agree.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not here to complain.
No, it's okay. We just can't, it's really a spring, it'll be restored in the spring, as soon as the ground loosens up.
So the retention pond at Talcott at the entrance of the stormwater pipes, it tends to silt up, okay, and starts to sediment, which affects the pipes. So every so often, Talcott hires a consultant who comes out there and they dredge that area, which is typically called a forebay, and they restore the elevation and the capacity of that. As part of that project, that silt and sediment is pumped into what's called a silt sack, which is what you see over there, and that's meant to de-water the silt. The sediment will stay in there, and after a few weeks, once it dries out, it'll be cut open, and that the dirt or sediment will be spread, and it'll be topsoil seeded. They did receive a permit under our code for work. It is a permitted item for maintaining stormwater management. They did test the material as well at my request. No contaminants were found in there, which they're all under the state requirements levels. So anything that was disturbed should be restored. I forgot the name of the company, but I am in communication with them, and I'll make sure that it is restored to what it should be.
So a couple of little things. So they're required to restore what they've disturbed. That's one thing. And then in the spring, we want to come up with something to put there to be a barrier for people. It is a lot of utilities under the ground, so it's a little difficult. But we're trying to come up with something that we can put there that will block vehicles, particularly utility trucks and so forth that park there otherwise. We even went out and bought stuff from the winter. The poles, to put in the ground and put them out just to prevent people from thinking they could park there. But right when we were putting them out, that's when they started that work. So we literally have them sitting in our highway garage until they're done.
Yeah, I put them out in front of my house instead of the rocks. I got the letter from Michael back in June.
Yeah.
I took the rocks up right away. There are still rocks across the street from there.
Mm-hmm.
I know maybe you and I had a discussion about the property that the rocks are on is Rybrook taxes, and the property that owns the property in front of it is Harrison.
Yes.
There was an error in there, so I apologize.
Okay.
Yeah, the memo never made it to that house.
So, like I said,
But they shouldn't have them either.
we have.
Yeah.
I don't know all the information. Maybe we should have gotten a letter as to what was going on the street. We've spoken to other people they're like, "What's going on the street?"
Yeah.
It seems like they're done, but one day they came and they picked up all the pipes for the Iron Mountain.
Yep.
One day they picked them up on a Wednesday, and then they spent 2.5 hours between 3 and 5. It was.
Yeah, you had a series of things happening here. So you had 3 different activities going on. You had the basin that was being done through by Talcott. You had Iron Mountain, who was doing Green Mountain.
Yeah.
Green Mountain. Iron Mountain's the
paper.
The paper. Green Mountain, which is doing the relining of Westchester County sewer line. So they were in there relining the sewer line, totally separate project. Just happened to be both at the same time, kind of going on. Alternate, yeah. So you saw a lot of different types of activity going on there. It was busy. The good news is I think all that area is done.
So normally I wouldn't say anything, but there's been a gas leak. The steel plates are still there. A week ago, 2 weeks ago, there's been another water main break in addition to the one we had right in front of our house during the day that it flooded, which all comes back to eventually me getting hit by a car on January 18th, walking in the street. I have pictures. There was snow on the ground. There's no place to walk. There are certain places along Lincoln Avenue where you have to walk in the street. There's guardrails, there's the storm drain area that has a guardrail, and then there's just overgrowth on the curve right before you get to Crawford Park. And then when you get to Crawford Park, they fix the sewer storm entry drain there, but there's running water that runs down into the gravel, and there's like a 1 foot deep trench there where the water collects. So you can't walk on the side. You have to walk in the street, even where there's the curbing, right, before you can get into the park. We got a new dog back in June. You took care of the asphalt that had been putting down, but that area, if you don't do something there, they're still doing it. They've started again since the cones were removed, since they removed the asphalt with the garbage. I saw a truck there the other day. They had put a porta potty for the workers doing the dredging, and I saw a Westmore gas oil truck.
Still parked there. No, I know. They keep parking there.
But there's no, I know that Mike has said you can't put a curb. I don't know why, but how do we keep people from pulling off over there and throwing their garbage out and their urine bottles from the gardeners and all the delivery trucks? And I mean, I have the photos. I don't need to show you, but it's just.
It's a road that doesn't have underground storm sewers, so basically that's why you can't put curbing in, because the curbs are meant to bring water, to convey water to storm drains. So what you have is the water as a sheet floats, goes off to the side of the road, goes into those gravel areas and the dirt areas. So there's gravel underneath there, and it goes into the ground there. So that's why you can't put if you put curbing in, you're going to cause flooding in the street. That would be a problem.
There's curbing across the street from us, which during their the Green Mountain guys destroyed the curb with their forklift putting the pipes there. I sent you.
I know that on the east side there's no curbing, right? Because that's where it drains off.
On the east side is my side. On the west side is the curbing.
Yeah.
Which there's no drain there either, but there's curbing. A curb we've asked for 15 years, on and off. If they could put one in front of our house, it'll solve the problem of people pulling off or driving on the grass. We've removed the rocks immediately when we were asked to, and we have people parking and driving on the grass.
So I think the best solution is to come up with some kind of a barrier on the side of the road where people can't park. That's my opinion.
How about
Curbing
no
is going to
parking
cause a
sign?
different problem.
No parking, no littering sign?
The parking, yeah, we can do that, but they're not going to do much. You put that, but you want more signage, I think that makes it look worse, but we could. But I think what you really need to do is prevent cars from parking there. You
Right,
need to
but
put something in the side of the road. It's a difficult spot because the utilities are all underneath there, but we're trying to do something there. Even if we dig by hand, we try to do something. You have any thoughts?
Originally, what the plan was to re-beautify that area, do what we did, and Mr. Cooper did remove the rocks. Few other homeowners did receive the same memo.
And our highway guys cleaned it up and
Highway
redid
guys
it,
did
yeah.
go back, so I apologize
Nothing
about
wrong.
that.
They did the grass, but then it rained that afternoon and it all, and
Yeah,
then they went back
unfortunately.
and fixed it again, so.
So the intent was to come in and replant a whole bunch of trees along that whole area. However, when we did the code 53 to mark out, you come to realize there's a 30-inch drain line, there's an 8-inch high-pressure gas main, there's a 8-inch water line, there's fiber, there's MCI, there's cable, all underground within that first 15 feet of roadway. So you pretty much can't plant anything there. Even putting mile markers, and we've talked about it, I've talked about even small mile marker posts. It's literally falling within that mark out area. So, almost anything you try to dig, excavate, or install in the ground, you're potentially hitting one of those utilities.
We literally got the
don't wanna hit a
winter
gas
posts
line.
just to try to put them in, but
Right.
that's when Talcott started.
I don't know if that's a no parking area.
I don't know.
I don't think it is.
No, it's not regulated.
There's no signage there, so either way you couldn't enforce it.
Cars can park there, but if that was made a no parking area, then we could write.
You can enforce it, yeah. So we could do that. We could put it in the code.
Is that the area where it's the road, the center line is more to one side than the other?
There's gravel off, it's just north of Talcott. It's in front of Talcott, Greg.
Maybe we should put meters. Why don't we put meters there?
I like the way you
and charge
think.
for parking?
Now, Mr. Cooper? Mr. Cooper?
Huh?
Do you have a picture?
Because the rocks, cars go off the side of the road and they get damaged, and now you're gonna get sued.
Do you have a picture of exactly what we're talking
later.
about?
Yeah, I do.
You're not supposed to put rocks in there.
I would love to know what we're talking about.
Do it anyway.
Why don't we put a pay meter and charge people? And then you can give tickets when their parking expires.
So, I'll just go to the because it's kind of something. It's just been messy. We've had a woman during
Still not gonna
the
solve in front of Talcott, though.
So, I don't know who's putting this on asphalt. Okay. And they were doing the street, I spoke to Chris. back
Oh,
in
they just
June.
put millings there?
So they're just, someone was creating what I call a truck stop.
Right.
I'll show you
Because
the
they
pictures.
flattened
Which we-
it, so that
which
way
we
their
removed.
trucks can
So
stop,
Chris-
right.
Chris took care of it, it's been removed, and they planted grass, and then it rained that day, so the grass got washed away, but then they fixed it again with an aerator, so the grass was more even. They lined the street with cones, but since they've been doing work, when the guys came to dredge the lake, they removed the cones, so now the trucks and even the guys
Stop
dredging
all
the
the
cones.
time.
So we've been trying different things, it's
Yeah,
just,
it's
Right.
yeah.
But now it's just, so what would
Have
happen is
planters.
people.
You can't use planters either, because if
Everything
somebody
with
hits
garbage,
them.
Somebody hits it.
Right, which
Walking
is
the-
horrible.
so
You may
our house
find
is
some
the
that
first
are-
house next to
that
Top
are
Lot,
collapsible.
And walking the dog to the park when she was a little puppy, like 4 months old, she would pick up everything that's there, and there were sneaker boxes, there's urine bottles.
People just toss it
They just-
outside,
well,
it's
they would pull
terrible.
over there, park, and toss the stuff out, and from our backyard, if there's not foliage on the trees, or when they're
You
just
see it all.
starting, you see the guys going into the woods to urinate from our deck.
Mhm.
You know, we've pulled every permit, we've done everything that we're supposed to do. We just got the CO last winter for our kitchen, that took forever to do. We've done everything we're supposed to do. We just want to enjoy the
Right.
the neighborhood, which I walk through Crawford Park, all the way around, through Pine Ridge and back down, at like an hour walk. And, we were asked to move the rocks. These are the rocks right across from
And that
the
kept
trucks.
the other trucks from
Well,
parking
they're not
there.
there, but now those are all out of whack because of the piping that they were doing, which they ran the thing through.
Yeah,
So people
this
park
is,
on his lawn?
It's just.
no, it's in front of Talcott,
It-
but.
Why is it illegal to have
It's
the
like where
rocks,
the-
Mike?
So under our code, there is language that if objects are within the right of way, which may pose a safety
That
hazard
is
or
a
a health
safety
risk,
hazard.
that they be removed. New York State DOT also regulates their roadways and does not recommend any boulders
This is
within the
Talcott.
right of way.
Right.
It's Talcott
So if a
stuff.
car hits it, a car could potentially go airborne.
Right,
That's the concern.
right, and I would
Or
fall on
the
it,
rock
tripping.
will go
Right.
flying in.
If anybody wants to look, that's the Talcott work that was being done. I took pictures of them parked there.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
If they damage their car.
So,
It's not the right solution.
and what
Right.
happened is more and more rocks have been popping up around the village.
Right.
So hence I sent out the memos.
Got it.
But this is what typically.
And the
happens.
same
Exactly,
thing with
they
the truth,
park
you
there
put a
because
log
it's
there
land.
and not a
This is my
rock.
front lawn.
Anything that can impede
This is,
the flow of
Well, this is
traffic.
when the utilities are there. Other than that,
Put a
that's not
break
happening,
station up
right?
in the right of way.
So guys, just to kind of pull it back, so let's talk about
Yeah,
Scott. So what we could,
yeah, please.
so what we
Please,
could do
Chris.
is let's kind of bring it in. So the restoration's going to be done as soon as the weather is sufficient, right, by Talcott. The village is can maybe put in no parking in that area, and the police can enforce that. And then we got to come up with some kind of barrier off the side that is acceptable and meets what we need
Meets
to
the
do,
code.
that we can do in the utility area. That's really the solution. We've tried different things. We're going to continue to try other ones.
so, just as.
Here, why don't you come here to the mic?
Yeah,
Yeah.
please.
Good,
please.
thank you for the, I did ask him.
Okay, so we've gone through a lot in the last year. We had the flooding, the same day we had the water main break because the storm drain, it undermined the end of the water main, and it blew the cap off, which then flooded across Lincoln Avenue to the side that was already flooded. But the thing is, it comes back to, again, the speeding and the non-enforcement of the traffic laws. That is, even the police have seen it. So now, on that day, the police officers were parked in my driveway, and the people, even with the water and the boulders in the road, don't slow down. They just 40, 50 miles an hour. Like, and the police officer who came the day of the flood, he was like, this is insane. When I was hit by the car, the officer said there should be somebody here with a speed gun. He's like, we've seen it now with the police officers. And the interesting thing is when Con Ed is doing the polls, there's a police officer at one end and at the other end. They're in their cars. The people still don't slow down, but at least the police were there. With the Green Mountain guys, there were no police. So the day I got hit by the car was by the guardrail. On that part, you can't walk. It was snow covered, ice covered. You had to walk in the street. So before I walked out in the street, there were 2 trucks on the opposite lane. So people coming down from the hutch would have had to go in the wrong direction lane. But I was walking against traffic, so they would have been coming from behind me. Before I walked out in the street, I saw the 2 trucks there, and I looked behind me to make sure there was no traffic coming, and I started walking. But by the time, and there was no traffic coming from in front of me, around the curve, somebody started coming. I was already 3/4 of the way to the area where, before I could even step off to the side. She didn't slow down, and she couldn't go into the other lane to avoid me. But 30 miles an hour, I got hit by the car. When I asked if she saw me, she said yes, she saw me. But I was walking in the middle of the street.
Because you had no alternative.
So I said, I'm a pedestrian. And she said, well, you weren't crossing the street, you were walking in it. I said, and she goes, there was nobody there directing traffic, so I just assumed I would go around you. Okay, now, there were police officers at the corner of Pine Ridge and Lincoln Avenue, but there was nobody where these 2 trucks were. This is the mentality. I said to her, do you need for someone to tell you to slow down and not hit pedestrian?
Common sense, right?
If I was
Slow
on a-
down if you're
I was
coming
on
up to
a bicycle,
construction.
I believe the law is 3, you're supposed to give them 3
Go
feet,
straight
but
on red.
I give people, how about you stop? How about, like, this is, so I know, and then again, 2 weeks ago, a head-on collision in front of our house. This is a recurring thing, and like Joe said, what has to happen for somebody to do something? I don't know, like, they redid the walkways in Crawford Park. Maybe you can do the same thing with the asphalt, and that way people, but I have pictures of people walking their dogs, even when there's no snow. They're not walking on the grass, they're walking in the street.
It's not, yeah, and the road's not designed for that because there is no sidewalks, and you shouldn't be walking on Lincoln Avenue in the street. But so it's not designed to be a walking street for sure. I know you do, and I get it.
Okay, so
But
Right,
it's
and I think
not
there's 2
designed for it.
separate issues here.
And the other part is the
Because-
construction. So just keep in mind whether the police are there or whether that's just a contractor has to do it.
Supposed to be
They're
flaggers.
required to do traffic control,
Yeah.
and we have the right to shut them down.
So
I think
can
in that case it was
to cut you off,
I think that case was a Westchester County project. So it wasn't our project, but we could still shut them down on our street. But you realize that wasn't our project. It
Are
wasn't
they
our project.
required to have flaggers?
It wasn't our project. It was a
If they're-
county. It was a county main they were doing.
Right, so,
Projects typically have an MPT plan.
right, so they would have to, and I think,
You'd have to contact them
You
and
know,
go
the-
through it.
I guess the issue you started on is more the
Clean up.
area, the clean up the area along the pond on Talcott. And it sounds like we have solutions.
Well, that'll be
for that.
done by Talcott as soon as the weather's conducive.
Yeah. And then we have to figure out,
We could do no parking, and then we got to try to come up with something, a
right,
barrier
to
of some kind.
actually prevent people from parking.
So, when you look up a property in Rybrook, it mentions the parks, it mentions you can walk to the parks. So if you live on Pine Ridge or that whole area, there's no sidewalks there either. But I see children, walking and riding their bicycles and riding unicycles, motorized unicycles up and down Lincoln Avenue. So how are the kids supposed to get to the park? You mentioned sidewalk, and that's kind of like,
You can't put a sidewalk there where the drain, it would have to be on the inside of the drainage.
How are you supposed to get to the park from my house to Crawford
I'm
Park?
I'm not trying to be argumentative. What I'm trying to say is the road is not designed as pedestrian friendly. It's not meant to be a pedestrian walkway.
Okay, but the speed limit on Lincoln Avenue is the same as it is on Pine Ridge and everywhere else around there. And they're not going 30 miles an hour. And I understand. I'm
Well,
not asking
that's
for
which is another issue.
30 miles an
Absolutely.
hour. So that's what the issue is. That's why I decided to come tonight. And after getting hit by the car, the people are speeding and nothing is being done about it. I noticed for the first time last Friday there was a white Interceptor because you can hear it when they go after somebody. That's the first time that I've seen any police trying to enforce it. The day I went to pick up the accident report, I saw the same officer who took the report. I said, is there anything you guys could do? I just am trying to slow them down a little bit.
We can
I
we
didn't
can
get
do
ser-
that. I
didn't
mean,
get
what you
seriously
do is we
injured.
put out the signage. We have the radar signs, right? We can schedule it in that area. We can put out the radar signs, and then you do the enforcement right after it.
So you put the radar sign out, it is there. It's not in the best place where, I know it doesn't matter, but the sign doesn't light up, it doesn't work, and
Put a no
when you
parking
first put
sign
it out, my wife came home and I said, oh, they put the sign out. She was going 30 miles an hour, it shows 28. So it's under recording the speed. But
Then we put it
I think people speed up when they see the sign like that.
Once we do that.
And we record, and it gets recorded. So that's not only telling motorists what it is, but it's also recording, right, the speeds.
Did it, then you couldn't park there.
And then we're able to look and see how fast people are actually going on the road. You can actually not have the display on and still record it, so people think it's off, but it's still recording.
And also the issue with the sign is, on Ridge Street and also on Lincoln Avenue and certain roads where there's a lot of traffic, it uses more battery power and the batteries, drain and the sign goes dead quicker because, there's thousands of cars that pass the sign. So that's why a lot of time the sign will be up there and within a day or so, it's dead because of the number of cars that pass through it.
And I offered to change the batteries. I asked Sergeant Denninger, I'm like, can I keep the batteries in my garage? Because I see the sign going dead because I walk to my mailbox all the time.
Couldn't do that.
Can I do it? And he's like, he never answered.
Well, because it's not an expectation for you to do that.
Yeah,
But, we
couldn't.
have signs that are solar powered, but those signs have to be permanent. The sign on King Street is solar powered, the sign on Hawthorne Avenue is hardwired, so those signs don't go dead. The sign on King Street sometimes goes dead because the battery dies, but it's solar powered. As soon as the sun comes out, the battery charges. That sign that we put on throughout the village is a sign that we put everywhere, so we can't have a solar panel on it to charge the battery, so the batteries have to be charged. Highway Department changes the batteries. We all know their workload, so the last thing I want to do is call up Highway and say the battery's dead because, they have a lot on their plate also.
So how do we get a hard line in there? I'll give you the electricity, I'll run an extension cord. That I don't care about. I just want things done.
Well, that sign,
When you say you can't change the battery, well, why not? If they're too busy, you guys are too busy. If I work from home and I can go change a battery, then why not? Like, we're all trying to get the same thing done here. We're trying to get safety first, and, if you don't let me do something to help, then, nothing's getting done. Like, and that's the problem. Like, you talk about,
I don't think that's fair, but I think the are getting done, but we're trying to explain the limitations very openly and honestly. The battery dies, so then we got to replace it, right? So when you see it's dead or not on, two things could be. One, we sometimes have it off because it's still recording and we want to see how fast the traffic's going. Other times just needs to get a new battery replacement or recharged.
So I came tonight to ask or appeal to you guys to maybe the police I spoke to Sergeant
Dengler?
Dengler. It was very nice. He said he has seen what I was expressing to him. Is there any way that we can start enforcing it for, I don't know, write a couple of tickets a day and then be done? Like, I know that manpower was mentioned, but it's really 4 minutes of fear and terror walking to the park. I'm going to continue to walk to the park. I want to enjoy the village. I want to enjoy the park. And why shouldn't we be able to walk to the park? I mean, that's what it's there for. I mean, kids can't drive to the park. They're going to ride their bikes to the park. They're in the street. I have pictures of people walking side by side in the street, and the cars don't slow down. I have people on bikes riding side by side on bicycles, and the cars are honking at them or whatever. It's 30 miles an hour. It's not Purchase Street, which is 45. It's 30 miles an hour.
We will do what we can to try to slow the traffic down.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Greg. I know that you're giving it good efforts. All right. The last item on our agenda is a discussion item regarding green building code. Do you want to lead us off?
Okay. So,
You want me to lead us off?
Sure, I'll set the table. How about that? So, back in February of 2020,
A while ago.
pre-COVID is what it was. The village, right? Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
just about.
As COVID was coming, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not sure you can call 2020 pre.
Well, that's when we started. It was pre-COVID.
Pre us.
So there was the village was talking about the options for creating a more green building code, and if you remember at that time, Keenan Bean was working with Sarah Brown from Hardesty in Hanover to give different options. They did a report for the village, which I think it's back up in the agenda item. And Sarah came and gave some options. They looked at other municipal codes, gave some suggestions about how to look at this. I know the board felt strongly to try to provide, make it more incentive-based for residential properties and more code-based requirements for more commercial properties, that new construction have to follow, would be required to build more stringent code. And residentials would be encouraged, whether it be fee reductions or zoning leeway if they did certain green construction. So that's where the board left off. And then we were talking about it for a good long while, and then things kind of changed where we kind of disappeared on this issue because of, I think, COVID then at that point.
I think COVID.
And so now we said we should really go back and revisit because not much has happened since then.
Right, and if my memory serves me correctly, we were kind of stuck in this hard place because, in order to, you could incentivize by having people conform to an existing code that exists, by getting certifications, but that has to go through a private entity.
Yes.
Or
LEED is
we
private.
could create our own set of requirements or parameters with which to incentivize, residents, but that would put undue burden on the building department. So we were really kind of in this hard place of not knowing where, as a small community, where to go here. Mm-hmm. And we were starting that debate, and then the brakes were put on full. So,
because eventually what happened was Sarah's going to come back with a modified, trying to reflect some of the board's desires, and then you guys were going to refer to the sustainability committee for more kind of refining. And but I think it's not a lot of time's passed. I think it's going to require a little bit of getting back up to speed.
Right, and I think it will. I think it absolutely will, and I think you're right that it's potentially a task force. Bringing people from sustainability, from planning. Village board together to look at this as a whole. I mean, I don't know how everyone feels about that.
Yeah, well,
we want to revisit the conversation.
When?
And basically what we had talked about was, at the time, and again, we had a different mayor, we had a different chair of a sustainability committee, which I think, Paul was mayor. I think Stephanie, you were probably chair of the sustainability committee at the time. A different board, and at the time, what we had discussed was potentially requiring for commercial development, and then incentivizing for residential development by basically saying, all right, if you meet certain standards, you may get a percentage off of your building permits and fees and everything.
My only thing that I want to say, I firmly support this. I just from all the expensive construction and everything, I hate to put any more monetary burden on builders or commercial entities. I almost think that maybe it's something we can explore to incentivize both commercial and residential to do it and offer, a discount or something for both of them, because I feel like it's just, the costs are so high and everybody has to get all these permits and everything, that I'd hate to ask people to pay more money.
Well, and that's why we had talked about incentivizing for.
So I think for commercial and residential, we should do it, not just residential.
Well, and again, this would be something we don't have to decide on this
Right.
at all right
Right.
now.
That just makes
This
sense.
is more just about bringing the conversation back.
Real quick, the state energy code is pretty strict right now, and it's just getting stricter. There's new codes coming out, and I think you're going to find that we wouldn't have to do any of this because the state's going to mandate it with the building code requirements. So, something to think about. I'm not saying we shouldn't discuss and talk about it, but we should really look at what the future's bringing us with the energy code right now, because it's a book that's 1.5 inches thick, and it's supersedes any other code when it comes to doing something.
And as we all know, not to interrupt you,
Yeah.
because I know this is what you're doing,
Yeah,
and you see
yeah.
it more than we do.
Yeah,
but
well-
the cost of energy is only escalating, as we all know, and we see in the Rybrook residents how people are very upset by their Con Edison bills, and it's really all the delivery fee.
Just themselves, right? They're going to
But
do
this-
this on their own.
When we're talking about green building code, this goes beyond energy.
I
Yeah.
understand, but that is
Well,
a
it's-
very
this
big
is
part of it.
Materials, this is stormwater, this is the energy as well. So there's a lot of aspects,
Right.
and I think a lot of that was in the Keenan Bean memo, also the exhibits of what other municipalities have done. I think Hastings was the one that has had a code in place for years, where they created their own code, and then and people have to follow it. But again, that to me is undue burden on our building department. Where
don't have
they have to enforce it and look at that. That's why we had thought about it.
Still interested in keeping the discussion going.
So get the committee together. Let's get a committee together to research it and come back with some recommendations, and then we'll.
Chris, what do you advise are next steps here?
Well, if the board feels this is the right time to form a task force to look at this and come back with recommendations, I think the mayor's right. It should be members of the village board, the planning board, and sustainability committee. I think that's the right group. So if you try to get, say, 2 representatives from each group and have it chaired maybe by one of the board members, one of the trustees or the mayor, whoever's on it, that would be a good way to work with staff as part of a task force to bring back recommendations. I think that would be a way to go. I think the board's given kind of direction on some of the concerns that are there, as well as some of the balancing of the costs versus the residential improvements. So between those 3 groups and the staff, the building department, probably the building department, or the building inspector, Michael and I, would be part of the groups. And obviously Sarah Brown,
Right.
maybe Keenan Bean.
Still puts
Right,
a lot of
and-
pressure on the building department.
And again, we don't know that. We don't know that. It could be, it could be that we're requiring outside, certification for something.
Some places do that. They hire somebody to review it separately.
Right. So but again, this,
So if the time
and it
is
could
right,
be that it could be that the task force comes back and says, "You're wasting your time."
Right.
It could be.
Okay.
so I think if the liaisons to the planning board and sustainability would maybe reach out and ask for 2 representatives from each, maybe that would be good. Then the board can decide on 2 people, and then obviously we know the
I know
staff.
I'm not getting out of this one, so I'll just go ahead and appoint myself.
So you just can't have obviously a majority. So
Right.
does that make sense? If you want to proceed at this time, that's kind of I was talking to this with the mayor, and we said, we didn't get closure. The board's a little bit different now. Let's find out if this is still a goal at this time, or if you want to table it, you want to do something now. That's totally your options.
Yeah.
Well, I have a question for you, since you think the code is changing and it will have to filter down to us anyway.
Mm-hmm.
How soon do you see this happening, and exactly to what end is this happening? This
Well,
is building, this is.
Yeah, I think it's gonna happen, but the state does take a long time. I can tell you that much. They say they're going to do it, and it will take a while. But I mean, look, we should get a task force together. I think it's a good idea just to see it and see what other municipalities. We have a list of stuff. We were handed.
Got a lot
to,
of the homework done. So
yeah, a lot of the homework's done.
Yeah.
So our sustainability committee can look at it too, and let them come back with stuff, and we'll hash it out in the next few months. It's not like something has to be done tomorrow.
No.
Right.
Chris or Greg, if you guys could write up 1 page or less,
A couple of bullet points
a couple
of
of bullet points
Mm-hmm.
of
what the
what
liaisons.
the
should-
task force will be. I will then present it to Rob on the planning
Okay,
board.
so we'll give you like bullet points of the goals of what we're trying to
Exactly.
accomplish.
Yeah.
This way
Me
Rob can
too.
also try to figure out who's best on his board.
Okay,
Yeah, and Stephanie as the
Yeah.
liaison
Yep.
to
we can do that.
the sustainability committee.
Greg and I will work on
What
that.
about airport? You want anyone from there?
We are moving well with the airport task force. We
Oh, right.
have
Can you give a quick
representatives.
update
Sure.
on that?
Huh? Oh yeah. So,
Did you hear from them?
huh?
Did you-
Yes, I have heard from both. Probably their next meetings are going to have representatives from North Castle and Newcastle. We already have representatives from Rybrook, Portchester, City of Rye, Town of Rye, and Greenwich. So everything's all lined up. And the county airport does not give us the sign that they're currently moving forward on a very aggressive path, because I think they have other litigation issues they're working out at the airport. But I think it's a good time for them to get up to speed, get on kind of the same page, and start to meet. I think they're planning on meeting. They like to meet in mid-March, have the first meeting, probably Zoom, mid-March. First meeting.
First meeting.
They have some people that would have a conflict, they said, otherwise.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. All right, so I think we then have our decision on the discussion item. I think we're
You'll send me
good.
some bullets too.
Yeah,
Thank
we
you.
will.
Okay, thanks, Greg.
All right, anything else, Chris?
Nope.
All right.
All right, so the next meetings
Okay, thanks.
of the Board of Trustees will be March 12th and March 26th, 2024. Thank you and have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I will not hear the 26th.
Chris,
right?
go get your daughter.
I just looked at the clock. You see me look up?